Hey everybody, this is me and my buddy. We're doing the Dekafit relay or team event. Um, just to start, I wanted to make a point here with this video or the lunges. You can see my buddy started at was about 6 ahead of these two other guys, and this guy caught him pretty quickly. uh, Not to put my buddy down, he doesn't do these very often. I just know that he's a pretty strong guy and he's in good shape, but he does not do these very often. Actually, doesn't do them at all. I asked him to do it with me, and our plan was that I would do the run and he would do the workouts because he's a pretty strong guy. Um, but I think this is a good video to show you kind of like the difference between someone who, not the difference, but like to show you what it's like when someone doesn't uh, do this very often, and the small mistakes that they make. But he does a great job. I think if we were to do it again, we would do much better, especially if he had a little bit more training leading up to the event. But like I said, our plan was I do the runs and then he does the workouts. So my goal was to run, there's no runs in this video, it's just the workouts, but my goal was to run the 151 per 2 laps, which puts me around a 6-minute pace, which I was actually able to maintain pretty well. A few times I finished under, I think a few times I finished about a second or so over. The laps aren't always consistently 2, so it could be like the skier to the farmer's carry, I think was like, there's a huge 40-meter gap from workout to workout, so it wasn't a full 2 laps. But my buddy does great here. It is about a 140 on the row, which was our goal going into it. It's my son in the background saying, "Let's go, Daddy." He's my biggest fan. So appreciate that. So I'm off, running. On the box jumps, one thing that you can see with the rower is he wasn't in the first one, the closest one. This one, these are wide open, and so I was telling him, "Hey man, can you try and get closer?" It doesn't really make a difference here, but like, imagine if he was like in one of the back ones. There's 10 events, 10 runs. These seconds matter; they add up. So if you're 3 seconds behind on one station, with the workouts and the runs, that could be a minute difference. Here you can see he's not doing the technique that everyone else does. You'll see the other guy here in a second doing the like, it looks like you're dancing, but like the step over dance, and it's much slower. I think he does that in like 40 so seconds, whereas other people are doing it in under 40 seconds. I thought he was going to do box jumps, but I found out that his legs were getting tired from the lunges and the rows, which is what this is. This is pretty taxing, and it's all about that endurance. The workouts aren't tough, but when you do it and add it all up, you get pretty tired. Here he crushes the sit-ups, I want to say about 40-ish seconds. But it's funny, talking about legs, like he even said that his quads were hurting because you're using your quads to kind of pull yourself up, especially your upper quads, which comes to bite him in the ass when he gets to the assault bike. But then again, he does a great job. Then next coming up is this ski-erg, I believe. And so one thing, if you notice, there's no judges around to make sure you're doing it right, make sure the machines are all set up. And then again, like I said, my buddy's never done this before. He was skiing great. I walk over, I look over. He's skiing, I want to say, in the like 140s. And I'm like, hell yeah. He was gonna try and do like a 150. And remember I told you I wanted him to get closer, so that way we could get in and out faster. Well, he moved like last second to that one. I guess someone had gotten off of it, and then that's when we noticed. I go over there and I'm like, "Hey, you're at like 650 or 700 meters," and then we're like, "Fuck." He's like, "What do I do?" And it's like, I don't know, man. I guess we'll just go to 1,000. Um, so I guess you could say we're disqualified, but whatever. I think he ended up going shorter because his time was like 126 on this thing or something outrageous. So another mistake that we made, not knowing the machines very well. Um, there's my son cheering us on. But it is what it is. So he tags me. I'm like, oh, I guess it's time for me to go. And then I take off. Wasn't sure how far he actually ended up skiing. We were on the farmer's carry. It's funny because this is where he said that he started to feel like shit. And he crushes it. He does a great job. With the farmer's carry, I think he does it again like 40 seconds. Something interesting here is you see this other two ladies in the orange. They're running together, and they actually split up the farmer's carry, which I found pretty interesting. I don't know how like a co-ed would do that, but some people do it that way. But again, my buddy did a good job. But I was a little concerned when he said he was feeling tired here because I knew that the hardest ones were yet to come. But so I take off running, try for my 151, and then I already know like the assault bike's next, and here it is. So this is what we worked on the most, and it's funny because it's something I work on a lot, and comes race day and it's like, it still kicks your ass. But he ends up doing like a 125, which I know he could do better, but again, like I said, with all the other workouts leading up to it, his legs were pretty fatigued, which just, it's crazy to me because like the top people, they're running as fast as I'm running, if not faster, when they do it solo. So they're running as fast as I'm running, and then they're doing these workouts even faster. So they're amazing. I appreciate their athleticism a lot more now. But overall, we're actually still doing pretty good on time. We're hitting all our marks, and I'm running a little faster than I was hoping or planning to. But hits this 125 and he gets punched in the face. His quads like blow up, which you'll see in the next clip. If going back, I didn't know he was so fatigued. I didn't know his quads were gonna fail like they did, but I would have jumped on the bike and probably done at least half the calories for him. But I mean, like from the runs, I was hurting, and I went into hit our mark on the runs, and I was like, maybe his minute 50 rest will allow him to recover, but they don't. And so here you can see he's going pretty slow. He's wobbling. He can't bend over because he says if he bends over, his quads are going to cramp. So it takes him about a minute to do 10. And then that's when I'm like, all right, I'll do 10 for you, but just let me catch my breath. You do 10, I'll do 10. And that's what we ended up doing. And so it takes him about, like I said, a minute to do 10, and then me about 30 seconds to do 10. So fresh, he should have, say his quads hypothetically didn't cramp, he probably could have got it in about a minute, maybe even less, to do 20. So we'll have our hypothetical time about a minute. And then I'm a little fatigued from the run, or from the balls, so my run's a little slower on this next one. If everything all went well, I think we would have got under 31 minutes for our total time, which was about what our goal was. So, like I said, we're pretty happy about that. So he's saying his legs are going to cramp, so he's walking like that. But one thing that's interesting is that he still does pretty okay on the sleds. Okay, I guess. And then we're here at the end, coming up on the last few stations. So I'm like, hopefully his legs get better, but then again they don't. Oh, another mistake I think that he made was that his seat was too low. When we trained, he said that it was fine, but I think his seat being too low is another reason that his quads blew up. So here we are. I think I still ran under 2 minutes. But he is moving. So our goal is to do 2, 1, 1. There's my wife coaching him on. And there's 1. So this guy in the purple over here, they were, if you go back and look at like the sit-ups, I think we were getting out of the sit-ups when they were coming into them, so we had a pretty good lead on them. And then you can see they catch us. They're only 1.5 tank push-pulls behind us now. I think we end up beating them by like 15, 20 seconds. Because this run after this it's pretty bad too. I think it took us maybe 3 minutes. I didn't have my watch running, but it was not fast. The event was great. I know that they had an issue with the timing chips, like the Wi-Fi went down. Which if you go online, of course, I try to look up like our splits and they're all wonky. But it was indoors, it was freezing in there. There was like 5 different like fitness competitions going on. It was a pretty badass environment. It's one of the main reasons I like coming back to this stuff. Here we are in the last pull, and then I told him, I said, hey, don't even worry about burpees. I will do that for you. Try to run. There he is running. So I'm trying to like run ahead of him and maybe push him to run a little faster, but it didn't really seem to help. Coming into the final burpees, I was like, all right, I'm doing all 20. Let's see if I can beat the top dogs. And I thought I was going fast, but I ended up doing, I think, like 1:07 or so. And I don't know how these guys at the top are doing it by themselves, like Nick Riker, he does it in like 1:02. It's like ridiculous. But I do, if you can see, my stance is a lot wider. That, like my feet, makes such a difference on the getting down and getting up. I do this unbroken, like I said, about 1:07, and our final time was 32:48, which I don't think will get us to the World Championship. Maybe with like a really good, a really big roll down, but unlikely. I guess we'll have to just train for next year.